Welcome to tonight's information session on REFI certification. Happy to have you here. We have a great presentation for you, and we're going to work our way through this slide deck. This is the overall agenda. First, we'll do some introductions, talk about the history of the REFI certification program, talk about who leverages REFI, why get a certification in the first place, as opposed to just take a course, why choose REFI in particular, and then we'll do a deep dive into the program curriculum and wrap up by talking about the two flexible format options that are available to you, and then next steps as far as enrollment and timing and so on. Before I dive in, I just want to highlight what some recent graduates are saying about REFI. One said it was well-designed, offering immediate practical applications. That's definitely something that we are very serious about and take pride in, is the practicality of the course. Another said it was a joy to learn from course authors Mr. Kirsch and Dr. Linneman. This is something that we thought quite a bit about as far as, how many instructors should there be? Some other courses have more than a dozen instructors, and perhaps one might think that there's a real lack of continuity in the teaching style. That's not the case here. The third said it gave me confidence that I was refining my understanding and enhancing my skills. And the fourth said it was an invaluable resource for me during my analyst interviews. And this actually reminds me, I just got an email from a former REFI student this morning actually, and he just got his offer and accepted his offer as a full-time analyst for Invesco in New York City, and he's super pumped, and I'm super happy for him. And we have lots of other success stories like that as well. I'm Bruce Kirsch, founder of Real Estate Financial Modeling and also the co-author of the REFI certification course, along with my collaborator, Peter Linneman. I'll tell you more about him in a moment. I've been in real estate and teaching and training for more than 2 decades, and I've been providing through my company certifications in commercial real estate Excel skills for more than a decade, since 2011. I did work in commercial real estate after I got my MBA at the Wharton School. I worked for 2 platforms in Washington, D.C. in multifamily and commercial office. And as part of my company offering, I am the trainer to large firms and their recruiting classes. I've been trainer to multiple Blackstone portfolio companies, Brookfield, Greystar. I also do consulting as far as financial modeling goes for Excel-based analysis. I've served as consultant to Rockefeller Group, to Grosvenor, to Heinz, and other household names, as well as entrepreneurial platforms as well. And since I started the company, I have also been providing to the market suite of institutional grade Excel tools. And those tools are in part one of the benefits, one of the bonuses that you get access to with the course. And I've also served as a private coach to many rising professionals and rising students over time. I have provided free resources to the commercial real estate business for a very long time. Introduction to the real estate business, the keyboard shortcuts, the spreadsheet best practices, and many other things. I used to run the company from Washington, D.C. I'm in Atlanta now. And one of my big assignments when I was doing consulting in Washington, D.C. was working for The Wharf, which, if you're not familiar, is an amazing mega mixed-use project on the water in Washington, D.C. And I built them a model with their guidance that allowed them to secure the largest construction loan in Washington, D.C. history, almost $850 million. I also served as adjunct faculty when I was in Washington at Georgetown University. And while there, I taught using this blue Bible of Real Estate, as it's known, which is originally authored by my mentor and former professor, Dr. Peter Linneman of the Wharton School. He was the founding chair of the Wharton School's real estate department. This textbook, of which I'm now co-author, has been adopted over time by some 125 colleges and universities, and also by large players such as Blackstone and Tishman Speyer and CBRE. It's actually on the desk, physically on the desk of new hires when they come in to get to the desk for the very first time, they have a copy of the book placed there for them as a reference. My collaborator, Dr. Peter Linneman, as I said, was the founding chair of the Wharton School's real estate department. He taught at Wharton for 34 years and has been involved in commercial real estate for almost 45 years. He was the director of the Zelluri Center for more than a decade. He, as I said, is the original author of this nicknamed Blue Bible of Real Estate, which I call it the REFI book. And the REFI book plays a very central part in the course. It essentially serves as the backbone of the course. And Peter's also been publishing for almost 25 years now, the Linneman Letter, which is a very highly regarded quarterly publication which performs economic analysis and market analysis on the commercial real estate business. Peter's resume is long enough to fill up an entire slide deck. So I'll just give you a couple of more highlights. He's been the chairman of Rockefeller Center Properties. He's an active commercial real estate investor, as am I. And he's served as a private equity fund manager and has been named Realtor Magazine as one of the 25 most influential people in real estate. And so we put together this program that is based on the book and leverages the book and allows you to get the most learning possible out of the textbook. And who are the people who are taking advantage of this program? Well, generally speaking, it's students and professionals. The students include undergraduate students, graduate students, recent graduates, and professionals really come from all walks of life. They are generally those in sort of the early to mid part of their ascent up the corporate ladder. But also we have entrepreneurial individuals who are either currently running their own smaller platform or are looking to make that leap, to build the confidence to make that leap to start their own platform. We do have a lot of career switchers as well, people coming into commercial real estate who've been in the workforce and are looking to make a transition. And this can be anything from people who are a construction project manager or executive, professional athletes who are no longer doing athletics, people coming from special forces in the military, and so on. And what they're going for collectively, everyone, is these coveted positions, these very highly coveted roles. Many of them have the word analyst and associate in the job title. And we have some recently gathered data from the market here showing that, wow, these are very coveted jobs for a good reason, right? They're high compensation roles, to put it mildly. Okay, analyst roles, again, it's going to vary. These are ranges and they include bonus amounts, but analyst roles anywhere from 100 to 150,000 a year. Associate roles starting above that, around 175,000 to up to $250,000. This is going to vary naturally by firm, by geography. Is it a class A market or a top tier market? Is it a secondary market? Okay, there are likely roles that are above this and likely roles that are below this in terms of range. But these are the positions really that many of our learners are either in and looking to move up from, or are looking to move into from wherever their current role, whatever their current role may be. Okay, and so these are sort of the current roles and the target roles that we're showing here: private equity analyst, investment analyst, development analyst, investment banking, development manager, and so on. And so these are really the exciting jobs that are more on the younger end of the spectrum in terms of tenure. And these are the jobs that allow you to ascend through a real estate organization and rise up over time. Why have a certification in general? Just very briefly, there's a lot of courses out there. Certifications in particular hold a weight that is greater than just taking a course. For one, there is rigorous testing that goes along with our certification, which employers know about. The market knows about the rigor of this course. And so when you pass the course and you succeed, you are truly certifying, validating, right, your skills and your knowledge. And having that can provide you with a competitive advantage and help you in terms of your career advancement. And it can help you to make an argument for an increase in your compensation. And in addition, it also allows you to be part of a network and a community of like-minded individuals who are also serious about commercial real estate and rising up in commercial real estate. And at the bottom here, we have one of our other alums, Matthew Shell, who works for Pacific Industrial as an acquisitions associate in Long Beach, California. And he summed it up nicely when he said, people will really give you credit for refi because they know its rigor. And Matt completed the course when he was wrapping up his studies at USC and helped him to get his first job out of school at Eastdil in Los Angeles. And it also helped him to make that transition from the sell side to the buy side to Pacific Industrial. Okay, why choose refi in particular? The only real answer is you get a certification primarily for reputation. Okay, you always want to get the best one. And so refi has been around for more than 5 years, and we're fortunate that it's been incredibly well received by the market and is the most well-known. It's the most comprehensive in terms of curriculum. It's the most rigorous, and it's the most challenging. And therefore, it means something to have on your resume. And this is why people will actually put it up on the top of their resume in the education block, as opposed to burying it at the bottom of the resume. Most recruiters or most hiring managers don't make it past the first, 3 or 4 top inches of the resume because they lose interest. Okay, people put refi at the top on purpose because it's something that is a true accomplishment and achievement. And why else do people do refi in particular? Well, refi's structure is unique in that you can actually get 2 of an overall 4 certifications within the first couple of days if you want. So there's the refi certification, which is the overarching certification. And then within the curriculum, you have 3 Excel skills for real estate certifications. Those can be attacked immediately upon course enrollment. And as I said, you can have your resume updated and your LinkedIn updated with Excel for real estate level 1 and level 2 within the first couple of days that you're enrolled. You don't even need to wait for anyone. It's all there ready for you to attack. Okay, we do offer 2 flexible learning options as well, which I'll talk to you about more as we get towards the end. And we have tremendous support, and we also give lifetime access. Somebody actually emailed me today, and I got on a meeting with them today, and I didn't know what they wanted. And they said, yeah, I signed up for refi a year ago, and life got busy. He said, am I still able to do it? And I said, yeah, just sign in. There's lifetime access. Nothing expires. We never pull the plug. I don't believe in that. We also don't come to your house and take the book back from you. It's yours. This knowledge and this access and this networking opportunity is yours for life. And we have a tremendous alumni community. These are some logos of some of the places where our alumni have landed over time, currently are operating, currently are rising up in these well-known firms, as well as I said, more entrepreneurial outfits as well. Okay. What are the goals of the program? What are the outcomes that we target and that we achieve when we have an engaged learner who applies themselves? Okay. Regardless of your background, you can come from any walk of life. You can gain a solid theoretical and technical grounding in real estate finance and investments and in Excel, and with the 2 together. Okay. We want you, and you will become a more critical thinker with respect to the business of real estate across all of the property types, across all the transaction types, okay, leases, acquisition, disposition, mortgage note purchase, and so on. And you're going to walk away from this being able to confidently talk the talk, to speak the language of commercial real estate with confidence, to be able to have those initial conversations, those secondary conversations about properties, about the market, about mechanics of the real estate business, about formula construction in spreadsheets, and so on. And so generally speaking, the outcomes are you're going to have tremendous skill growth, and you're going to have a tremendous gain of knowledge. And that applies to all of the practical things that you will want to do and need to be able to do in the day-to-day of one of these positions. Okay. Make a pro forma, forecast operating cash flow, operating income and expenses. Put together a capital structure with multiple layers of equity and multiple layers of debt. Value a property based on some set of targeted returns. Quantify your net wealth position through the 4 alternative forms of exit. Okay, solve for returns to equity, not only at the aggregate deal level, but also at the joint venture partner level. Okay, model a ground-up development, model an acquisition, and many other things. And we'll talk about more in the curriculum now. And so we have broken up the curriculum into essentially 12 buckets. And each one of these modules has a badge associated with it. Now, you also will get badges that are related to the Excel for Real Estate skill certifications, and we'll show you where those come in. But one of the things I just want to make clear is that, first of all, there's no prerequisite for the course. Okay, we start you out and we assume that you know essentially nothing. And so we get everybody on even footing, and that prepares you to then thrive in the more intermediate and advanced topics and tasks that the course is going to challenge you with. But we've broken it up into these 12 categories here, and let's go ahead and step through them. So the first, as I said, is prerequisites. There's no course you need to take before this course. We're essentially giving you access to a free prep course on the front end. And this involves, like many of the other modules, reading in the textbook, watching video, performing hands-on exercises, and completing quizzes. And in this case, also the Level 1 Excel Skills Certification. So you're going to understand everything here about basic finance, time value of money, NPV, IRR, amortization, and how to apply the 2 or 3 dozen most practical and widely used Excel functions and formula methods. Okay. Next, we move into risks and opportunities. Okay. And in this, we're going to be accomplishing another achievement in terms of the Level 2 Excel Skills Certification. But we're going to be talking about real estate as an asset class. Okay. The different property types, what makes them unique. How do you view potential opportunities through this lens of risk and opportunity? Okay, how do you assess risks? What are the typical risks? How can you potentially mitigate them? And so on. Okay, and this module also includes audio. The entire curriculum is highly multimedia. We have the book, we have video, we have audio, and we have the testing as well. And so no matter how you learn, there's going to be at least one of those media types that is really going to resonate with you, if not all of them. Okay, next, we move into the module on leases, the fundamentals of commercial leases. Here, we're going to learn all about the economic and non-economic terms of commercial leases and how the idea of risk mitigation is really baked into these leases and has been over time by risk-averse landlords and how they shed that risk onto the tenant through various structures. And we'll also learn how to model in Excel these leases and look at them both from the perspective of landlord and tenant. Next, we move into pro forma, looking at the property, the entire property level. And we're going to step through pro forma for a retail plaza, multi-tenant retail plaza, line by line. And we teach you literally how to produce every one of the projection line items. And what are the things that you should be thinking about when you're producing them? And why do they act in a certain way? And why do they interact in a certain way? And you'll also get to run a full investment analysis where you're going to be integrating elements of purchase and sale and debt and equity. Okay. And again, it's highly practical in nature. These skills and knowledge that you're absorbing in these modules, you'll be able to apply the next day on the job. The next module, due diligence and capitalization rates. Okay, due diligence is something that many courses don't address, but is one of the most important parts of the investment process. So we open your eyes to all of the things that you need to have exposure to, you need to know about in order to be a sophisticated assessor of a potential investment opportunity. And then we do a deep dive into capitalization rates. You're going to learn more about cap rates and the nature of cap rates and how they behave under certain circumstances here than you will in any other course. And again, it's through a combination of formats, through the text, through video, through audio, and then also reinforced with the quizzing. Okay, next, we switch gears and talk about ground-up development. Okay, how do you put together a pro forma for a development? How is it different from an acquisition pro forma? What are the key things that you need to understand in order to be able to look at a development opportunity in an intelligent, sophisticated way? And how can you determine what rents or what sales prices will support the level of risk that you're potentially taking on? Okay, development is incredibly risky, and you need to get a commensurate return for the additional risk that you take on versus just, let's say, acquiring a stabilized apartment building. Okay, it's a very different animal. The goal of development is to eventually manufacture that stabilized NOI stream, but the process, the journey to get to that stabilized NOI stream is one that's more complicated than simply going to closing on an existing operating property. And it's also riskier, and there's a lot of moving parts. And so how do you properly represent that and account for everything in Excel and make an informed decision as to, if you saw a development site and there was a broker marketing that site, but there wasn't an asking price, how would you even begin to think about, well, what is the land worth? Okay, what should I be paying for the land? Just order of magnitude. And then how do I dial down onto the value of that land? Next, we'll integrate the concept of debt, and we'll talk a lot about capital structuring. We'll discuss why one uses debt in the first place. Okay, what are the four main reasons that you use debt? And what are the advantages and disadvantages? What are the risks of using debt? What are the potential benefits? We'll also learn about the larger debt market, including the CMBS market. Okay, how did CMBS come to be in its current state? Okay, what caused it to start in the first place? How does it work? Why is it so potentially profitable? How is it so potentially risky? And what are the things that people still have misconceptions about as it relates to CMBS? Okay. Next, we'll look at exit strategies, and we'll also look at a ground lease, which is a little bit of a more exotic structure, but we club it together with the four exit strategies. And there is a saying which goes, you never want to get into any investment, real estate or not, without knowing how you could potentially get out of that investment. And so you'll learn about the four alternative exit methods and how they're really not the same. And you end up with something slightly different from a net wealth perspective, from a property control perspective, from a income tax liability perspective, with each of those four different methods. Next, we do equity joint ventures, and we talk about the private equity business, the real estate fund business. Okay, when did it start? How did it come about? Why did it come about? How are funds typically structured? How do you represent that in a spreadsheet? What is it that people are talking about when they're talking about promote and preferred return? And how does that apply at the individual transaction level? Okay, this is where you're going to get your third REFM Excel skills certification. You're going to do a deep dive into investment cash flow waterfall modeling, and you're going to make your way through the exam for level 3, at which point you'll have 75% of the certifications. And all you have to do from that point is close out the course. And to close out the course, we have a handful of more modules. One is on cycles and market growth. There's a lot of talk about cycles right now, just based on what's happening and how the Fed just lowered the target rate. And so all of this is going to be very interesting, to read in the context of the current environment. We'll also talk about, how do you predict growth? How do you figure out which metropolitan area, which market, which submarket you potentially want to focus on? Okay, you can't be everywhere. So you need to figure out, where is it that you want to be and why, and how has that market performed in the past as far as growth. Okay, we'll also talk about investment return profiles and how the market has changed over time. Okay, this is a discussion and an investigation about public real estate vehicles, private real estate vehicles. And we'll take a step back and see how the real estate business has changed, how it's evolved over the last 3 decades, and how it's likely to continue to evolve over the coming 2 or 3 decades as well. We'll wrap up with corporate real estate, talking about as a user of real estate, what kind of space do you need? How much space do you need? How do you make an analysis, a proper analysis for figuring out, should you own your space or should you lease your space? Okay, what's the biggest mistake that companies make when they're running that comparative NPV analysis? Those are the types of things that, again, you'll get exposure to, and you'll have solid investment analysis and general analysis frameworks that you can apply on the job. We'll also look at entrepreneurship and talk about what is it that all these real estate entrepreneurs have in common. Okay, what makes them tick? Why are some successful and others are not successful? And then wrap up with ethics. And so it's a very comprehensive curriculum. When you complete the course, it's a tremendous achievement. You will have put in a lot of work and you will have taken out a tremendous amount. And it is large enough accomplishment that you will place it also at the top of your resume because it is so substantive and it's not just a sort of a short course. This is a real proper course, and you're going to get a full course worth of information, knowledge, skills, and growth and development out of it. Okay, what are the formats? How can you do refi? There's 2 formats. The first is the self-paced format, and this is the classic format, which has been around for more than 5 years. And this is essentially modeled off of a traditional linear progression over a 15-week period, such as in college or grad school environment. And there's more detail on exactly how it's ordered in our brochure, which I'll put the link to in a moment. But we also have the cohort format, which is relatively new. We're currently in the midst of our very first cohort, and it's going incredibly well. The group just completed their midterms, and people did very well in the midterms, and they're all psyched to keep trucking along. And what the format is and how it differs is that we essentially have an 8-week period where there's a group progression. It's a structured, cadenced progression through core material that is germane to the individual transaction lifecycle. And so while I went through all of those badges, those modules that you do in the entirety of the course, things here are sequenced a little bit differently. And again, I have great detail on this in the brochure. And the next cohort is going to be kicking off on January 20th. Okay, some other things that make the 2 formats different from one another. In the cohort format, you do get live interaction and group interaction and support. We have office hours twice a week with me, and that helps you to get questions answered live and move forward without being blocked conceptually in any way. You also get an hour of private coaching with me, and you can split that up into 2 30-minute blocks if you prefer. But I enjoy working with each of the learners individually and helping them with their specific circumstances. And the coaching can actually address a number of resume review or a career path planning session, or it can be a modeling session where I build something from scratch and you observe, or vice versa. Or we could do job interview test, Excel skills test simulation together. And those are the things that are not in the self-paced format, okay? You continue on with the course and you continue with the networking component beyond the 8 weeks. And so the cohort is really focused on relationship building and being part of this expanding alumni base. You do also get, in addition to a digital certificate for the cohort format, you also get a hard copy certificate. We ship you the beautiful REFAI certificate, which I'll show here, ready to frame. And naturally, you'll get the digital certificate instantaneously when you complete the course. And then it'll be followed by the shipment of the hard copy certificate. Okay, the self-paced course, you can start anytime. You design your own schedule 100%. You are learning the exact same curriculum, but you do not have those group elements and those live interaction elements. But you're not alone. You have the forum, the online forum, which I personally moderate. And you also have, as with the cohort, a direct line to me as well. Okay, we'll do some questions in a moment. I want to talk about the urgency of why people are signing up for refi certification now, why we're seeing such demand for the cohort and for the self-paced format. If you've been following the news even a little bit, you're probably aware that the Fed just recently lowered the target Fed funds rate for short-term rates. And this is a major change from where we have been, right, over the last 2 or so years. And it's corresponding with the raising of the largest private equity fund in history, Blackstone's $30 billion fund, and other headlines where major players such as KKR are saying 2024 is the year we're going to start to just deploy massive amounts of capital because the distress in the market, well, we don't know exactly when it's quote unquote over because there's not a bell that rings at the bottom or a bell that rings at the top. But in retrospect, we'll be able to see, yes, 2024 was when it turned. Okay. And there's expectation for continued lowering of rates, which is going to help fuel growth in the real estate business and help fuel valuations as well. Okay. As far as next steps, how do we get signed up? The cohort, as I said, next begins on January 20th, and the pricing is $3,299. There is special pricing for nonprofits, those who work for nonprofits full-time, as well as students. There are payment plan options available through Affirm, which you can consider as you go through the checkout process. Self-paced, as I said, you can start anytime. You can start right after this webinar. And the enrollment fee for that is $1,999. Again, also discounted pricing for nonprofit and students. We do offer a terrific promotion, which is if you know someone, have a peer or a friend or family member who you think might also be interested in pursuing refi, you can come to me, just send me an email, and you can both get 25% off. And so that's a tremendous substantial savings there. Now, if you're already an REFM customer, you can apply any self-study purchase that you've made. Most people are buying the level 1, 2, and 3 boot camps bundle, but really anything else on the self-study side. Or if you're already in the self-paced format and you want to upgrade to the cohort, that's also available. And we'll give you a dollar for dollar credit. Anything and everything that you've already paid, we'll provide you with a coupon code, dollar for dollar with that. The book in hard copy is included in the enrollment fee. It gets shipped out the next business day after you enroll. You get immediate access to the online platform, and the book is usually to you in the US within a couple of days, coming by UPS. Let's open it up for questions now. I'm going to pull up a bunch of questions that you were all kind enough to send in advance. The first is, are there office hours for the cohort? Yes, there are office hours for the cohort twice a week. And it's Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern, 5 to 6, and Sundays, 7 p.m. Eastern, 7 to 8. Okay. Next is the most common question. Is there a prerequisite for the course? As I explained earlier, no, there is no prerequisite for the course. We bundle in the prerequisites on the front end so that you can get the proper foundation for the course and then move forward from there. And I'm going to put a couple links in the chat here before I forget, and then we'll move on to some of the other questions. Well, let me do this chat here real quick. Here's some, okay. There we go. So let's see what's next in terms of the questions. Okay. Would this program be suitable for someone who doesn't have a finance background? This is your program. Yes, it is very, very much geared towards you. Again, you don't need to do anything in advance. This course assumes you know pretty much nothing. We ramp up fast, but we make sure that nobody gets left behind. Okay. Is a certificate internationally recognized? Yes, it is. REFI, REFM, Peter Linneman, Linneman Associates, all of these are known quantities outside of the US. Peter is very much a famous individual. I've delivered trainings for large players across the Atlantic and in the Middle East and so on. So it is known outside of the US. And let's see what else. Any questions currently that you want to ask? I'm ready for those as well. I see someone has their hand raised, so if that means you have a question, please feel free to send that through on the chat or let me know and I can unmute you and you can ask me over the line. Tyler, would you like to ask me the question?
Yes, thanks, Bruce.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it. Yeah, so I guess the question, and hopefully I'll simplify it, is for the self-paced piece, you mentioned that like you could use that. Like I kind of have a big life event coming up in end of February, early March, and so like I may not be able to join like the 8-week course, but the self-paced piece, you can kind of do at your own pace, and then I think you said you offer the 8-week cohort once a year. Is that correct?
No, it's 3 times a year. So there's a fall and then a winter, and there'll be a spring as well. So after the January start date, there'll be, I think it's an April or May start date.
Okay. And then just, I guess, so like, let's say I'm kind of doing the self-paced course, but and I'm interested in doing like the fall cohort, for example, in 2025.
Yeah.
Would that work potentially, kind of thing?
Yeah, you can just let me know and we'll slot you into the cohort. If you want to transfer over completed quiz scores and so on, we can do that. If you want to start fresh, we can do that as well. And it just be paying the difference between the two.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. What other questions can I answer for folks here? Well, if you haven't seen the brochure, we do have that salary data in the brochure. So do download the brochure. It's on page 9 of the brochure. And also take advantage of our free consultations. Okay, I've been talking to people all week about REFI, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have in terms of particulars. And let's see, we've got a question coming from Ivan. Do you still have a question, Ivan? I saw a hand raised. Okay, maybe not, but let me know if you still do. And so,
hello, sir.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, my question was how long does it take to finish the cohort? Like, all 3 levels.
So within the 8-week period of the cohort, you will complete the 3 Excel skill certifications. Beyond week 8, there is still material to complete to get the overarching course certification for REFI. So once you get Excel level 1, you can update your resume, and level 2 and level 3. So those are sort of done in real time, and you don't need to wait for the overall course to be complete in order to be able to put something on your resume. So generally speaking, beyond the 8 weeks, I would say it probably will take about another 8 weeks. It depends on your circumstances, right? Some people are working full time, some people are studying full time, some people are free and they're able to do more rapidly. So it is very much case by case.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And one more question to add on. How do you suggest people, students promote this certification? Like, you put it online, would you just say like you message recruiters and say, hey, I have these to, prove my competence?
Yeah. So I put the letters, the REFAI letters, as a designation after my name. I wouldn't do that if it wasn't something that I was seriously proud of. And you can certainly do that. And I have seen others do that on LinkedIn. Other graduates do that. You don't have to do that naturally, but that is something that can attract attention and differentiate you just by your name. Beyond that, yes, you have the ability to add it as a certification in your LinkedIn block. And then, as I said, many people will put an entry for REFI on the top of their resume in their education section, along with their other degree or degrees.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Tyler, you have another question? Go ahead.
Great. Thank you. Just real quickly, in terms of the time, is there a time limit on the self-paced piece or
No.
No. Okay.
There's not There's no time limit on,
Okay.
listen,
Oh,
we're all busy. I know everyone has their own crazy things happening in their life.
yeah.
I don't believe in pulling the plug from someone on education. It's to me, it's as preposterous as, showing up at your house and saying, I need the book back now.
Okay.
It's a platform, it's a springboard, it's here to support you. We had some people who started the cohort and hell broke loose on the work front or the personal front or whatever. And they said, can I do the January one? I said, yeah, it's fine. Don't sweat it.
Got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's very helpful.
My pleasure. All right. Well, let's get everyone out the door and to dinner. I appreciate you joining. Feel free to, well, we got one more question. Go ahead.
Hey, Bruce. Put a
Hi there.
question in the Q&A, but probably didn't show up. I just wanted to ask, how are the meetings scheduled for the cohort option?
Yeah, so the synchronous component of the cohort is the office hours. These are group office hours, and those are twice a week, Wednesday 5 to 6 Eastern and Sunday 7 to 8 Eastern. That's a weekly thing. And in addition, there is also the one-on-one coaching with me, which we schedule based on your availability and my availability.
Okay. So it's not like we're meeting to review the content of the overall certification program.
The weekly office hours are generally going to revolve around that week's content.
Okay.
So that we can make sure everyone is clear and they're good and they're ready to close out the quizzes for that week and move into the next week. But I'm always open to just talk real estate. People don't have anything else to talk about.
All right. Sounds good. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. All right. Last call for questions here.
I had one more question. What do you typically like to read to get a consensus or understanding what's happening in commercial real estate? What do you like to read? What publications?
Oh man, the Linneman letter. I'm biased. The Linneman letter it's fantastic. It's a paid subscription, but really anything that Peter does, including we do every quarter. He and I do a quarterly capital markets webcast, which is free. And he also does every quarter with Willie Walker on the Walker webcast. Basically, anything that comes out of Peter and his camp is terrific and insightful. Generally speaking, you're going to want to expose yourself to everything, right? Try to read absolutely everything. I know it's impossible, but there's trade publications. It depends on what your specialization is, right? If you're a lender or if you're in multifamily or if you're in commercial or if you're in the fund business, there's always these trade publications that are also helpful. All right, folks, have a good evening. Take advantage of the consultations and let us know how we can be helpful. And don't delay, because my sense is the rocket ship is on the launch pad right now as far as the real estate business. And we're about to have a really, really fruitful and strong 7 or 8 years, and you want to be on the ship. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait for the next one. So something to think about. Take care, and thanks again.